Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. House of Cards, Season 4, Episodes 7, 8, and 9. We get to the convention.
Yes. For all I had said before about good luck, writing a fictional presidential campaign that's crazier than the one we're actually having. Oh, so we're going to have a contested convention. And I swear I caught a line in Episode 7 about choosing a new Supreme Court justice during an election year? What?
Right. I think they might. We were talking before the show. Maybe they ADR debt because we haven't had. That's not like maybe they just.
It's not a part of it yet.
It's not part of it yet. So, but a contested for vice president. I don't know. I'm sure they researched it.
Right.
It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that happens. But
well, and the president then it becomes
all
about
of a sudden,
that was crazy.
then we get thanks to Louisiana because Kathy got wise.
She sniffed it out.
I mean, sniffed it out.
Sneaky.
I mean, she saw the 10-foot writing on the wall.
It's pretty obvious.
But she wouldn't have sniffed it out had she not seen that Claire went in to have a smoke-filled room meeting with the senator who was in second or third place.
The guy who hates her, right?
So that was a miscalculation on their part. But that is good of that takes into account that no matter how careful you are, there's always some like staff writer who's following everyone's move. And Claire Underwood just walked into our stable and went in.
They went a little too far, I thought, in the like in offering that guy state. Like there are a lot of ways to maybe try and handle that first. Well, what are you going to offer me? I don't know, national security advisor. Or you say to Kathy, yes, of course you'll stay on next term. Maybe it's something bigger than state. Maybe you're my national security advisor. Maybe I have you. I don't want you traveling. I want you right. There's like.
All you have to do is keep it vague.
Right,
and it's so easy to do that.
Because all you got to do is get through the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they all need you more than you need them.
I wonder,
Exactly.
but then there's like a personal history of Frank himself being promised Secretary of State.
That's right,
So
that's
now
right.
his definition of that is
Got
not set in stone.
That's true. That's true.
And there's a lot of fun manipulation of the media here, like when Kim Dickens gets waltzed past the Roosevelt room just so she can see the
just so you can see the Ohio senator,
Ohio guy. And
Yeah.
there was I forget now, but there were two of the other. Well, obviously with the return of the writer now, we have that whole thing of
Tom, right.
Tom with his based on novel that everybody wants to get their hands on. Oh, and this is really where we get to know the Conways too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't like that actor.
No.
Joel Kinnaman.
You could have done so much more with that person. He has this weird quasi-Eastern European accent that he's trying to cover. I don't know what it is.
And then his wife being British kind of adds to it. I feel like it doesn't feel very American president.
This is it's just and
It's also, it is a Republican Party that does not exist. I mean, if he was
so
really
moderated.
basically a Democrat from New York, but a Republican, and the party nominated him, and you have this wildly corrupt, unelected, devious, duplicitous Frank Underwood, I got news for you. Yes, Joel Kinnaman would win that election with 62% of the vote.
Definitely.
This one would not, even with being shot.
But I mean, do we believe that even if the Republican Party, and as it stands now, could come up with their with their Kennedy, their young, attractive,
They tried.
like
They did,
and he's now Speaker of the House.
Yeah, Paul Ryan.
Okay,
exactly.
But
he has to be so
would they
extreme.
buy him with a British wife? Like,
That's-
is that too much?
No.
No, but they wouldn't buy him with a British wife, and they wouldn't buy someone who was moderate in any way. That's the thing that just couldn't exist.
Frank is a conservative Democrat, and this guy's like literally on some issues. I suspect that if these people, they would really cross over. I mean, this is the difference between these two men is actually this. This is just power.
It's not following our party to the right the way that that actual American.
This is
politics
imagining
are.
a more centrist,
Right.
Yeah,
But
if there's
the
one
Tea
thing
Party
we
didn't
learned
happen.
from this go-round, it's that the Republican Party cannot put forward a candidate.
no, this is a European. In a European race. These two parties would unite and form a coalition
exactly.
government.
Totally. Wait a minute, and then the government would work? Is
Right.
that-
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But everybody'd get health care. It would suck. Nobody wants that. But that's it. I mean, these are the quibbling. They're making a television show, and although I don't know what the hesitation is in so many shows, and Scandal. I don't really watch it. I stopped watching after season 1, but it's the same thing. They found this moderate Republican who likes gay people and thinks women should have the right to choose, and you're like, well, that guy is not welcome in the Republican Party anymore.
But we
in any way.
welcome him.
Right, we'd welcome him, but he's not welcome in the Republican Party. But TV seems unwilling to cast the Republican. I mean, they don't want to lose their audience, I suppose. But but why would they think so? The party generates monstrous people in politics,
You have to
and
have
we can't have it on TV.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to in scripted. You have to have a likable character.
Right, that's right.
That's the
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and like you couldn't
What
even,
does
you
that
can't even
say?
make up Trump like as a fictional character.
Right,
Like
but-
nobody, you either
Yes.
wouldn't buy it if there really weren't one, and then if you made one, it would be just how do you not make him as monstrous as he is?
He would play on Veep. I feel like you could play
That's
him on
it.
Veep.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
You could play what?
I mean,
Veep.
On Veep.
He could
Yeah,
play
yeah.
on Veep.
and you have Armando Iannucci, who's like, sounds Italian anyways, and having that like be based on Silvio Berlusconi, like, boom.
Right. Yeah, that would. But you could have a candidate who was like Ted Cruz. I mean, who's incredibly traditionally smart, runs that campaign is like on it, the Cruz campaign.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, he's his website when he ran for the Senate in 2012 talked about how the federal government's going to make us all live in hobbit homes.
So it would just be evil manipulator versus evil manipulator at that
That's
point,
right,
which
but
would
I'd
be
rather
really interesting. I'd watch that.
right. I just
Yeah.
as a little more, it would resonate to me as more true. And I just hate it when all shows. First of all, I like this show, so we're spending too much time talking
Right,
about it.
the parallel.
But like it's safe. Like they went safe, and I wish they weren't safe because like that guy, the Joel Kinnaman, I'm like, oh, all right, that's a Republican. I could probably vote for that guy, probably.
Regardless of the maybe just the party's roles are switched in terms of you have one party with its shit together and one party that doesn't have its shit together, and that's what we
Yeah,
can
that's
see
right,
is,
that's
is
right, that's
similar
right.
because in this one it's just flipped. The
It's flipped,
Republicans
that's right.
have like we dealt with it, and it's just party realignments every few cycles. Like that's what's happening in the Republican Party.
Right.
Something happens, the Goldwaters and now
Right. This
the
is an
Trump.
alternate universe where they didn't go
Right,
crazy.
and wait,
now-
remember, this is a Democratic Party that just dealt with a president who resigned, an
Right.
unpopular vice president becoming president who then gets shot. So of course everybody's up for grabs. And,
Well, the Democrats are way worse than this than kind of he's coming across, aren't they? I mean, I feel like it's pretty hard on the Democratic Party.
Oh, it is. The Democrats
really
are. That's what Brett's saying is that
Yeah,
they wrote. This
totally.
party has the Democratic Party in House of Cards is out of control and reckless. How did
Historically, it's more in line with how it's shaken out anyway, in that the Democrats fall in love and the Republicans fall in line.
That's
like
right,
You
that's
can
right.
typically, historically, rely on Republicans to have their shit together. It just hasn't happened that way recently.
That's right. That's right. But how did Frank get to be vice president? I mean, who was because he was not elected to vice. What happened to the vice president before
they ran him for governor of his
Pennsylvania?
state. Yeah.
Right. So who was elected vice president? That guy.
That guy.
That guy.
The guy who
The
became governor
older-
of Pennsylvania.
Right,
yeah.
the governor of
I wanna
Pennsylvania.
go.
Right. Interesting. Right. So Frank was not elected to anything, not even vice president. Right.
Yeah,
Just Senate.
he was the
Just
He
the
was the
House.
whip.
Just no, you're right, but House, not
House,
even
yeah,
Senate.
right,
Right.
yeah.
His district in
Yeah.
South Carolina, Gaffney.
So yeah, go for it.
Did terrorism happen in this one, or is it the next one? Did I just get something wrong?
I haven't seen terrorism yet.
Well,
They're
there's
talking
the
about
ICO
terrorism.
Did you
thing
watch?
comes
Ico.
up.
You watched
Through
the
nine.
head? Did
Through
you watch
nine
the
is
head?
the-
I might have.
You might have-
I
you might have
don't
watched
know.
one of
Everyone-
those.
This is the arc where ICO comes up. Which
Yes.
I
And they had that
Which is
great.
short for
but
Ico,
anyway.
Ico, Ane.
Thank you,
Oh.
exactly. Giacomo Fina. Anyway, so now they're trying. So you've got Comfior as the general who resigns mainly to become the Stockdale to the Republican guy as his running mate. And I love the whole the smackdown of the convention where they're clearly stealing focus from all of my great family home videos that I've now made available to everybody on Bunny Hop or whatever the hell that
God, yeah.
Yeah.
that site is called. And so the idea like, all right, yes, fine, let's have a meeting, and then they just have sandwiches.
But that was a good
yeah,
scene.
well, you
I
called
like
my
that
bluff.
It was
That's
a
a
nice
great scene.
It was a nice scene.
I
Yeah.
think the whole interaction of technology into the election and the data and the way that's so interesting to me. It's like this.
Yeah.
It's a subline, but it's huge.
It took me a while to come around on when they're like, we have a search engine, so you're gonna lose.
I'm not around yet.
I didn't
I'm
get
not.
that.
I've not come around yet.
Yeah.
I
trust
don't know
it's
that it
building
means
to
anything,
something.
but the data, I mean, just the way they're gathering data on people is so interesting. And it to me, it made me think a lot about this election
I think
and what must be going on.
I liked the gun part. Like we saw it tangibly turn into phone calls, which they used to their benefit to
Right.
pressure the NRA. As to having the search engine means you're guaranteed the election, I have not.
Well,
I've not bought into that.
I like how it ties into the whole well, either we have the airstrike on the Syrians or we go to the FISA court and claim that's why we have to do the domestic surveillance. It's like they have to pick one.
FISA court.
Exactly. That's what was interesting.
FISA court. Literally, these guys, the Republicans argued that we needed domestic surveillance. The FISA court is literally 1,784 for 1,787. You get your warrant.
Rubber stamp.
Yeah. But she even hinted at that. She's like, look, I barely even read these, but this one seems extreme.
A little even for me.
This one seems extreme. The political, how do people, it's a little like Thomas in Downton Abbey, with the Claire and Frank,
why do you keep trusting them?
Why do you keep letting yourself get played? They're playing you. They're playing you. For the love of God, recognize that they're playing you. But there's Kathy, for a while at least, being like, well, I guess if momentum really builds, you don't think it could, do you?
Yeah, Jesus.
But what's her alternative? Really, what is she going to do? Because she's in line with this party. I mean, what can she do at that point if it does? I feel like she kind of has to play along to not get shut out. I feel like it's...
She could, but she could recognize, oh, you're manipulating this process. Who do you think leaked it? Right? It had to come from somebody.
She plays back. That's why.
Yeah, that's what
it turns out, thankfully, she plays back to such an extent that she's all of a sudden a rival for the nomination.
But now here's the thing I don't get, and this is going to bleed over into real life if we're looking at a convention that suddenly gives us Paul Ryan or something as the presidential nominee. How do you just waltz into something what, me? I'm the candidate? I mean, it seems like people do so much fundraising and so much, laying down of the ground game. At that point, once the convention happens and suddenly you're the presidential nominee, does that just mean the party takes over everything and they've got the offices, they've got the money, and that's all you have to worry about?
They can write rules around the convention the day before.
Basically, if it doesn't happen on the first ballot, then everything opens up. Although that's unclear, not to get too bogged down in details, but last week on POTUS Radio, channel 124 on Sirius XM,
I love it.
they had the head of the Republican National Committee, the Rules Committee, on, and Michael Steele is a host of the show. He was head of the RNC, and they were arguing pleasantly, more like a discussion of where they had different interpretations of what the rules are. And this guy, the head of the RNC Rules Committee, was saying that delegates are not bound even on the first ballot.
No, I'm saying once that happens, though, say somebody who hasn't been running all this time becomes the candidate, they have nothing in place. They have no support system that these other guys would have at that point in the election.
Yes, right. That's the whole.
Besides
But
the
they get
rules,
the Democratic
besides the party.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
get
they
the
just
whole
have
party.
party.
So you have essentially, you have to weigh the fallout of switching the people's candidate with your candidate against having control and what's better or worse for you.
Right, but yes, so you're right. So yes, they are at a huge fundraising disadvantage. The flip side is everyone can give them money. They're not maxed out with anyone, and obviously they'd have a significant super PAC which would invest gazillions of dollars. But those don't work with the super PACs. They work completely independently. So whether you're aware of that. No, I just mean, but how it could happen is so crazy that the guy who runs the Rules Committee was saying, no, the delegates don't even have to vote for who they say. They could just on the first ballot change their mind. Yeah. And the head of the RNC or former head of the RNC was like, I don't think that's right. I mean, so they don't have this figured out yet. So what's crazy is that it could happen, and then you're essentially starting from scratch. Of course, as mentioned in the show here, starting in basically in the 60s, really in the 50s. Well, no, really, actually, totally after 72 and George McGovern. You went to the convention to pick a candidate, and anything could happen. And then we decided, wow, this is wildly undemocratic.
Right.
Maybe we should let people vote. But we'd just be going back not that far to when this would happen with some regularity.
68.
I think when they
smoke-filled rooms.
Right.
When they started doing the superdelegates, though, I think that happened for Rand Paul in his state.
That's all.
They all just chose not to go with the popular.
But prior to George McGovern in 1972, you literally that's when we decided to change.
it was the party bosses sitting down
sure.
and saying, you know, it was Mayor Daley saying,
Right.
who's best for Chicago?
But I mean, you know, James Polk didn't travel around the country in 1844 trying to whip up support. You know,
what's his name?
he just came out of the convention and you could vote for that guy. You know, I mean, it's nuts.
Eugene McCarthy?
Yeah, it was who didn't run. It was 68, right? It
Yeah,
was like
Humphrey.
Humphrey didn't run.
Right.
He didn't run.
But he was
the
LBJ's
office.
VP, and he was a pro-war candidate until the party.
He
decided
waited
would
until
be there.
after all the primaries. Well, LBJ withdrew in March.
Yeah.
And then Bobby ran in March. And then Bobby got assassinated 2.5 months later. And then Humphrey just waited and waited and waited until, by acclamation, they named him. The theory is that if Bobby hadn't been assassinated, that would have been much harder to do. It was easier to get past McCarthy. But even if Bobby had not been murdered, Humphrey still might have been the nominee, having run in no state.
House of Cards. We have
House
to
of Cards,
let's
sorry.
stay on focus here.
I suppose.
Doug is feeling guilt-riddled about the donor
liver.
list person. Yeah.
Not-
Why
yeah.
this? Why this
Why
one?
now?
Why now?
You just killed the woman you were in love with, sort
Right.
of.
For no
Weird,
for no reason, she was not going to talk.
yeah.
She was literally hiding from the world.
Yeah.
I mean, killing her seemed riskier.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with his own hospital experience and how he could have been looked over had he been, bludgeoned, started to
that's
recover
right,
and
yeah.
needed
Maybe
a liver,
he's
and it
just
went to the president. But
A little paranoid and evil. I mean, like, he's just killing people left and
the
right.
more,
Yeah, it's a crazy
just
moment
a
of
burn on his
humanity that
conscience
he
and
just
just put it
suddenly
over.
had.
the top.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I mean, I thought he might kill that their information secretary. Yeah, Seth.
Seth.
I thought they may kill him
Yeah.
during a scene. I mean, I think he's just
Maybe Doug, because maybe Doug is capable of feeling guilt about people he doesn't know. Maybe that's what this is. Like, I mean,
Like this person was in no way an obstruction to Frank Underwood.
right,
which is
right,
normally
no,
what people
right,
kill.
right. Sort of
Yeah.
that this resonates for him in a personal level. He's removed it from his life, but then sitting back, looking at photos, somehow that reaches him
Right.
in a more
That's his
meaningful
code.
way.
Is
That's
someone
his
needs
code.
to have done something wrong to be a victim.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and she theoretically, although whatever.
Either
fair.
way, like everyone isn't necessarily doing anything wrong. They're in the way of Frank's ambition.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's
Oh,
been
yeah,
his code, and he's eliminated people in that way. And Frank's ambition to live still fits.
Ben, you're more of I've never really been a reporter, which you have. Do you buy the pizza guy who remembers Meacham's face?
What pizza guy remembered Meacham's face?
The guy at
the
the
place
store,
downstairs from Zoe's old apartment.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure. Because that's he was because
there a lot.
Yeah, I mean they were there a lot, and it was a deal. A car pulls up, a different kind of car. Yeah, people remember stuff, but nobody ever asked them.
And
Yeah.
Andy said
Yeah.
he got coffee, which would be weird too, right?
At a
if you
pizza
just
place,
sit down
yeah.
at a pizza place to drink coffee, I'd probably notice that.
Well, but he'd probably because he'd wait, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Secret
Frank was always
Service.
wearing a hat and
Coffee.
sunglasses and shit, so
In a
nobody would have
suit.
seen him.
So
Yeah,
Secret Service
yeah.
people order pizza. You know,
Right, if you're at a
You just
pizza place,
Get a
order
slice.
pizza.
Come
learn
on.
from this show.
Blend in, yeah. Yeah, so no, I buy that, and that guy and both Kim Dickens and the guy playing the former Post boss, like they're doing what reporters do who are good at their jobs.
Yeah.
But again, we had this long discussion about on Old School last night, the podcast Jenk and I did when Wes Clark Jr. was here too. It was just about but there are no more reporters don't have that opportunity. I mean, this guy's retired, so if he were working at a paper, he couldn't do this. He'd have
Unless
to.
you're on the Spotlight team.
But that's why it was so exceptional, because in the Spotlight team, they were like, okay, take 29 straight days and don't produce one thing for the paper while you work on this.
Yeah.
That's
Take
inconceivable.
a year to decide whether or not you even want to further
Yeah, it
investigate.
turns
this
out, I
story.
know we've been on this 4 months. Nothing there.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
Never.
Right, this guy can do it because he's retired.
Yeah.
But I fear for his life every day.
And I love that great scene with Zoe's old boss, who's like, I would love to help you, I cannot help you, and because she's A, terrified, and B, has been discredited enough at this point that she can't even.
Oh, Constance Zimmer. Yeah,
Yeah.
who's taken to the right. I mean, again, like they killed Rachel. Kill her.
Yeah.
She's way more important to
Well,
kill.
I think they neutralized her. I think
They did.
They don't need to kill her.
Oh yeah, she's right. But I only thing I keep looking back at, I don't think they needed to kill Rachel. But Doug felt that was like personal to Doug
Yeah, something
somehow.
weird.
Yeah.
And
Well,
maybe because he feared that he cared about her too much. That it was either he saw when he decided not to kill her, that felt like weakness, and he can't be weak.
And if you run away, I think you seem like you pose more of a threat. Like, because she disappeared, I feel like that made her more of a threat.
She also
Yeah.
beat the shit
Whereas
out of him until he almost died.
Yeah, that's right.
And he also doesn't
Yeah, I forgot about
see the other woman. So maybe it just has a maybe it's proximity.
Maybe it's just proximity. Maybe if
Maybe
he
he just didn't-
knew what Constance Zimmer posed, but that was
Yeah.
a good scene. That was good. She's a good actress. Do you watch Unreal?
I have, and I want to watch
Yeah.
more.
So good. So do you watch Unreal?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
It's the behind the
Check
scenes
it
of The
out.
Bachelor, the show on
Excuse
Life
me.
Bless You.
Sorry.
It's so phenomenal, and she's one of the 2 stars of that show.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, good stuff. But I guess so. We're gonna have Kathy run for president against Frank. I guess they move quickly sometimes. Like like Heather Dunbar was gone the same way that the Latino Senate guy was gone.
Oh, right.
Like one day.
There's one press conference.
One
and
press
adios.
conference on the TV in the background. You're not on the show anymore. Yeah, Dan, to use although she was doomed.
And who knows? She might, if she's got any kind of behind the scenes juice, or if she earned any delegates in the primary season, she may still turn up to be not that she can be in contention, but she could come to Kathy's assistance.
She could, but she it turns out Heather Dunbar far too ethical for this process. Yeah, far too ethical to compete with the other ones. All right, so I think we're going to come back and do
10 and 11, and then we'll do a separate one for 12 and 13.
a separate one for 12 and 13. So we're in the home stretch for House of Cards. Hope you're enjoying it.